A car plowed into pedestrians in London today outside the Houses of Parliament, injuring 3. It was the latest such incident in the city. Police labeled it a terrorist act.
Okay, this can be a scary topic, something we don't really want to address. Whether you live in a small town or a big city, it's no secret we live under this constant shadow. They're coming to get us, the terrorists. But why are we scared? What makes these kinds of threats different from declarations of war or unsafe neighborhoods? In other words, what is terrorism?
Terrorism is when there's an individual or a group of people that are looking to incite fear on a different population.
So in other words, it's about motivation. And that motivation, that purpose, is to scare us. Terrorism is a method. Terrorism is a strategy, a tactic, employed by people who have other, broader goals. It's sometimes hard to remember what the world was like before terrorism. But honestly, there wasn't one. Even as far back as the 1st century, the historian Josephus detailed tactics used by the Sicarii, a Jewish group intent on overthrowing the Roman Empire. In the modern world here in the US, we tended to think of environmental terrorism or crazy events happening in far-off places involving people with brown skin. Every so often a plane would go down, or we'd hear about some kind of bomber, but it always seemed so far away. And movies painted their own picture. Think of Die Hard and True Lies. All we had to do was send in our white action hero to fight for America and save us all from the angry man who doesn't look like us. But then something happened.
And we received word that something awful had happened in Oklahoma. I went to the president. I said, Mr. President, let me be very clear. As of this hour, we do not know who did this attack.
Timothy McVeigh, a white guy from upstate New York, bombed the federal building in Oklahoma City. It was one of the scariest, most surprising gestures of terror up to that point. And suddenly, it dawned on most people that terrorism could happen anywhere, and at any time. And it could be from anyone. Perpetrators weren't just those thugs in the movies anymore.
I think they can be any person. I don't think that there's any reason to stereotype.
It seemed that for a brief second, terrorism and racism weren't joined at the hip. But that changed when the world was shaken. 19 young men from the Middle East hijacked US passenger airplanes and committed the largest terrorist attack in human history. And however hard our leaders tried, and they did,
Islam is peace. These terrorists don't represent peace. They represent evil and war.
to many of us, terrorist equaled Muslim. People in this country were divided, and it spread through our culture.
Muslims killed us on 9/11.
Oh my God! That is.
Muslims didn't kill us on 9/11? Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me, extremists.
What religion were they in?
What religion was Mr. McVeigh?
But is that who the terrorists are? Do all people who employ this strategy of fear look the same? Of course not. Right now, the US State Department classifies 62 foreign organizations as terrorist groups. That's a ton. And they range from the Revolutionary Armed Forces in Colombia to Boko Haram in Africa to the real Irish Republican Army.
Unfortunately, they don't wear name tags, so it can be a little challenging.
See?
I think you should be concerned about anyone and everyone.
Want to get even more scared?
We honestly have no idea when anything is going to happen at all.
The specifics of terrorism are changing. Attacks like the Boston Marathon bombing and the U-Haul running down people on a bike path here in New York still linger in our memories. And the only reason mass shootings aren't treated as terrorism is because the prosecutors choose to not treat them that way.
There aren't a lot of statutes for domestic terrorism. It's something that is very challenging to prosecute.
While acts of terrorism across the globe have increased in recent decades, in most parts of the world, it's still a pretty rare event. But we are still tempted to think they're coming after us, our children, and our grandparents. So, what do we do about it? Not just our political leaders, they seem to have that covered with the war on terror, as if you could be at war with an emotion. I mean us. Do we just stay scared for the rest of our lives, knowing we could be next?
You can live your life if you want to be terrified that way, but it's kind of a horrible way to live. I think that people need to remind themselves that they are here and they have friends or family or children or, whatever the case may be, a cat, a dog. You just need to enjoy your life and pursue what you want for yourself in life.
So our reaction is up to us. React to fear, react to the worst case scenario before it happens and hide under our desks, or recognize that by going about our days, going to work every day, picking up our kids from school, calling our grandparents probably less than we should, we're all making a choice to not live in fear, or at least to not let that fear control us. I guess that's the one flaw in their strategy. When the point is to terrorize us and affect our emotions, we realize we're in control. We don't have to be scared. We're more powerful than we think.